We'll get started here. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us for the second week of our Ohio Business Matchmaker webinar prep series that we're doing leading up to the Ohio Business Matchmaker, which will be April 22nd and 23rd later this next month, April 22nd, 23rd. I'm Joey Scott. I am the statewide director for the Ohio Apex Accelerator Program, and I'm facilitating the technology side of today's session. So I'm joined by some amazing colleagues here just to get the housekeeping items out of the way before we dive into the webinar. This session, as will all of our prep webinars, is being recorded, and any slides that are used will be made available along with that recording within 48 hours or so of the webinar. We just need time to process the recording, get everything posted to the website, and that is where you can find the recordings and the slide decks on the ohiobusinessmatchmaker.com website. Other housekeeping items, please put any questions that you have during today's webinar in the chat or the Q&A features. Jill will be monitoring those. So with that, I think that is all the housekeeping items I want to make everybody aware of. And without further ado, I want to turn it over to the amazing Jill Nagy Reynolds. Jill, you're...
After all these years, you think that won't happen anymore, and it keeps doing it. So, or it's me, it's user error. But thank you so much, Joey. I really appreciate it. And like you mentioned, this is our second Wednesday for our Matchmaker webinar training series. So hopefully you were able to join us last week. So last week's trainings were making the most of the Matchmaker, and then we also had in the afternoon a training on doing business with the state of Ohio and the Ohio Construction Facilities Commission. The Ohio Business Matchmaker website has the recordings posted from last week already. So if you missed it, you can go in and you can watch it, and the slides are there. So this is a collaborative effort between the SBA, the Ohio Department of Development, which includes the Apex Accelerators, the Small Business Development Center, and the Ohio Minority Business Assistance Center. So we look forward to seeing all of you at the end of April at the Ohio Business Matchmaker. I do want to also make mention of the Mock Matchmaker series. That is beginning on March 26th. So you'll be able to take the information that you learned today from Danielle Peterman's presentation on capability statements, and you can actually get in front of 4 judges and give an elevator speech about your business. And those 4 judges will let you know what you could do to tweak it. And not only your elevator speech, but your capability statement. So you will see the registrations for the mock matchmakers on the Ohio Business Matchmaker website either today or tomorrow, but they start on March 26th, and we're doing 4. And we give you each like 10 minutes to give your pitch. So um, I am with the SBA Ohio district, and I work primarily with firms that are in the 8A program. But I'm going to be monitoring the chat today, and also just learning from our wonderful presenters, Billy Grill from the Ohio Apex Accelerator at Ohio University. He covers the Dayton region and other counties around Dayton. I'm not doing you any justice. And then there's Danielle Peterman, who is also Ohio Apex Accelerator at Ohio University, but in the Cincinnati area. So we are going to begin with Danielle Peterman, and she is going to help you learn about capability statements. So Danielle, if you would like to give yourself a better introduction than what I gave you. All
No, I
right,
think
thank you
that pretty
guys.
much covers it. My name is Danielle Peterman. I am the representative from the Ohio Apex Accelerator at Ohio University for the city of Cincinnati. I cover 5 counties. That'll be Butler, Hamilton, Warren, Claremont, and Clinton. So if you are in one of those counties, wow, this is going to be great. if you're in one of those counties, I will be your counselor for the Apex Accelerator. And if you need any help, please feel free to reach out to me. My contact information will be at the end of this presentation. And with that, let me go ahead and get started. Okay. So today what we're going to be doing is we're going to talk about, I am going to start by talking about capability statements. These are, for lack of a better description, these are going to be like a resume or a get to know you sheet for your business. So we're talking one sheet of paper. It can be front and back if you have a lot of information that you're trying to convey. But one of the things that you really need to keep in mind is that you're always going to want it to be within a 2 to 3 minute read. When you're doing 2 to 3 minutes, that means that you're recognizing the value of the person's time that you've given it to. You understand that everybody's really busy, but you can get what you want out there right now. So I'm going to go over all of the uses and elements of that today, and hopefully we'll get you on the way to making that stand out really well. So a capability statement really is your paper introduction. And one of the things that you want to keep in mind is things that draw the eye. And this form is going to be used when you're at the business matchmaker, when you're going around the trade room floor. You might have a quick conversation with someone, think that maybe there was some synergy there, and you can take one of your capability statements out and hand it to them so that they will have your information, not just on a business card, but a comprehensive sheet that tells them everything that they'll need to know about you so that they'll remember when they're thinking about who they met at the matchmaker. And the last part of the slide, sometimes, I haven't seen it recently, but sometimes your responses to federal government solicitations will require your capability statement as part of your submission. So, the elements of a capability statement. As silly as it seems, you're going to call it a capability statement. You're going to have 4 different sections: core competencies, past performance, differentiators, and your company data. So it's going to be your capability statement. Up in your header, you're probably going to want to also include your logo if your business has one. You want it to match all of your corporate branding. So let's say that you have a specific color scheme in the logo of your business. You're also going to want to tie in the design of your capability statement to those colors so that you have a uniform presentation. You're going to want to have probably your company information in that header as well: business address, website, and the phone number for the person in your business that is going to be the government contracting contact, because that's who they're always going to want to talk to. So, core competencies. Your core competencies are going to be what your business does, what you're good at, your bread and butter. Not everything that you do, but what you excel at. So this is where you're going to headline all of the things that are the basis for what you do, for the basis of why you do what you do. So you're going to also target those competencies to the client or your audience. One thing that you want to keep in mind, just like with a resume, you want to keep this a living document. You're not just going to make one capability statement and save it there. Let's say hypothetically, you're a construction company. You're probably going to have a capability statement for roofing, a different capability statement for siding, a different one for framing, and on and on. So basically, you're going to want to have that capability statement really focus and nail down on what you offer in terms of the solicitation that you're going after. But what I'm talking here is a generalized one that you can bring with you to the business matchmaker that covers the bulk of the primary things that you do. Don't get too deep into the weeds with your specialty stuff, unless you're a niche business and all you do is specialty stuff. So past performance. This one is one of the really self-explanatory ones. This is just where you list the actual jobs that your company has done that match the RFI that you're responding to. Or again, if you're just making a general one for the matchmaker, just your generalized past performance. Generally, federal contractors require 2 years of recent and relevant past performance to be useful on a capability statement. So keep that in mind. You're going to want to provide the name and contact info of the client in case the recipient of your capability statement wants to reach out and vet some of your past performance. If you're, again, the living document piece, if your work does not pertain to the opportunity you're looking for, don't include that particular work. Something else in this past performance piece to be careful of, and I'll talk about it again a little bit later, is that, nope, there it went. We'll come to it later. I'm really sorry.
Danielle,
So-
would you be thinking of owner experience versus company experience?
That's exactly what I was thinking. So
I know what you're thinking.
if you end up with a business where it's your work experience that has brought you to this point where you have this company, that is fine, completely fine. One of the things that you're going to want to do is make sure that you're showing how your specific past performance as an individual is tied to your company and is relevant to the work that you want to do for the company. So that's perfect. And that reminds me of another thing that I was going to bring up, which is logos, especially if your company has done work for a well-known or recognizable company. It's really tempting to put those logos on your capability statement because that gets all that information across with just one little picture. But the thing you want to look out for with that, those logos are usually trademarked and you need to get permission before you put it on a document that you're going to pass out. So if you don't want to get into asking for permission, it really is best to just keep to that brief description of work, and then you can give the name of a client and their contact information. So as the prime contractor, we have an example here where you provided ABC services to enable the effective use of XYZ, thereby reducing costs by however many dollars over 3 years. And then you name the contract vehicle and the amount. This brings up another point. Even if you don't have contract vehicles that you can name in your past performance, that's okay. Everybody has to start somewhere. So you can put civilian or non-contract experience as your past performance. You don't have to have formerly had a contract vehicle. Here's an example of past performance as a subcontractor. Again, you don't have to have any contracting experience to get into government contracting. These examples just provide how you would phrase that if you had. Now, talking about with your own personal experience, here is how you would show your experience as an employee and how that would be relevant to the work that you're doing now. And you also, like on your resume, are going to give a contact reference, their name, title, and some contact information. What not to use. If past projects don't relate to the targeted agency's needs, don't list them. the less extraneous information that you include, the more focused your capability statement is, the better you are to, or the better, more likely you are to keep the attention of the person that you're trying to get the information across to. Differentiators. So this is actually the section that I find most of my clients struggle with. These are the unique features that are going to set you apart from all of the competition in your field. These are going to be the things that, why did your previous customer choose you? Here are some examples. Why is your company the best choice for the needs of this agency or opportunity? What is it about your services? What is it about your people? Are your products just better solutions than the others? And especially this bottom one, are you just located near the agency that you're looking to work for? That location could be a benefit, considering if they need assurances that someone will be in the area to assist if something goes wrong. So when you're thinking about what makes your company different from your competition and how it benefits the buyer, always make it short and sweet. Focus on the needs of the buyer. Highlight the benefits that you bring to the customer. That's either going to be in dollars saved, time saved, or efficiency improved. And if you can include specific metrics, that really is one of the best things that you can do. As you saw in the examples, if you can show where you come in under budget, come in under stated completion time, that kind of thing, that's going to be the kind of differentiator that puts you ahead of the rest. Now, addressing some of the more common differentiators. You're not going to put any socioeconomics.
We had a comment on a couple slides back, and Elise, you may have to elaborate a little bit. Please elaborate on the last, I think she meant to put bullet on your slide before differentiators. It says if reference is not available, do not use.
I'm gonna feel real
Which
bad
slide? Was it one more?
There it is.
There.
Okay. So the main reason for that is if they can't verify the work that you've done, don't include it. I'm going to tell you that.
And she's elaborating by saying, are you saying not to list the work or not to list the reference?
Not to list the reference if a reference isn't readily available. You can still list the experience, because the idea here is you would still be able to verify that you had the experience or the project. You just may no longer have the ability to give a contact to the person you did that work for. Does that help clarify? Okay, perfect.
And just to add on to that, remember that this is merely a handshake in the relationship. So when it comes down to really submitting past performance, you're much further along in the acquisition lifecycle in the relationship. There are some companies that do have some pretty sensitive work that they do. There are companies that have signed NDAs. There are some barriers to what you can and can't put. But remember, this is meant to be a broad handshake. And then when you get down to the RFP, RFQ, et cetera, that's when they'll be looking at actual past performance questionnaires. Do you have current CPARs, things like that. So if you keep that in mind, it does kind of ease the anxiety of what you put and what you don't.
Absolutely. Okay. Here we go. All right. So some of the very common ones that we hear, the third bullet point is actually my favorite one, because everybody loves to say that they have outstanding customer service. But one of the things that I ask my clients is, if everyone has outstanding customer service, then it just becomes customer service. It's no longer outstanding. So if you want to bring customer service into it, I really suggest that you have metrics. Do you have a check-in call with your clients within 3 weeks post completion? Do you have humans available 24/7 on a response line? You need to be specific with what sets you apart. It can't be generalities. If you want to be best in class, you're going to have to explain how. Industry leader, does that mean that you have certain technologies or processes that stand out or are above the industry standard because you want to excel above that? Always, always try to be specific. Socioeconomic certifications, those are going to go in your company information area. So we're not going to include those in differentiators. Marketing speak, any kind of buzzwords, I would tell you to kind of avoid that. Just be clear and succinct and specific. Company data. So this is the section where you're going to put all of the nuts and bolts of your company. So this is where you're going to put your UEID and your cage code from sam.gov. You're going to put all of your pertinent government codes. So these are going to be your NAICS codes, your product service codes, your FSC, the UNSPSC codes, specifically in Ohio. Those codes are going to be used when you're doing state contracting. The UNSPSC doesn't fall into the federal realm. The federal realm is the NAICS codes and the PSCs for the most part. If you have contracted before, you're going to want to put any of your long-term contract numbers in there, regardless of whether they are federal, state, or local. This is where your socioeconomic certifications go. Those are going to be all of the small businesses, 8A and HubZone, and then, of course, your state certifications, which are along the bottom there, MBE, EDGE, DBE, VFBE, and WBE. Codes and certifications vary by agency. So obviously when you're making these for a specific RFI, then you're going to tailor your codes to the jobs this client wants done.
We got a good question in the Q&A.
Okay.
So what variables are best to help win contracts? 1, the number of years of past performance, 2, lower bids, or 3, relationship building?
Okay, that's a great question. So unfortunately, my answer is going to kind of be all 3, because the big part of government contracting, for good or for bad, is relationship building. So the biggest journey for you in this piece is going to be getting comfortable meeting people, shaking hands, and not just telling them about your business, but getting to know them enough that you can ask after something about them. You know, you're getting to know these people, and people tend to gravitate toward people who they have good interactions with. So I am going to say the biggest part in the beginning is building those relationships. And if you come to a lot of these events, like our business matchmaker, you're going to start noticing that you see a lot of the same people from the same partner organizations that we work with, along with a lot of the contracting agencies. And when you keep coming to these events and keep networking, that's going to build those relationships even more, because you're going to start setting in their mind. They're going to know who you are. Next up, you mentioned the pricing. So that's tricky. If you're going after a contract that's firm fixed pricing, that means that essentially they are going to look at the lowest price. And that's really all you need to concentrate on for that contract. So all 3 are important. It just really plays into how early are you in the process? Where are you in starting to apply for solicit or respond to solicitations? And than what the specific job is. I know, clear as mud. I apologize. Okay, so the appearance of your capability statement. Make it clean. I don't know, but when you see a really big letter or an email, summaries of awesomeness. Okay, perfect. So the summaries of awesomeness, those are going to be your financial position of strength. Okay, an example of that is you have the capital already in your business to keep the doors open while you're waiting for the government to pay for your services or your products. The government always pays its bills. It just may take some time for those payments to get through. And the government needs to know that you're going to be able to still provide everything no matter when they pay you. So if this is a case of you can provide it, but you need them to either pay some up front or pay you along the way, that's going to be decided by the type of contract that you have. So there's no real assurance that you'll get any kind of money up front. So you have to be able to keep your doors open while you're waiting for the government to pay for their contract.
We have a request for an example of the summary of awesomeness. I think she's saying that there's something on the previous slide. Elise is saying that, I think. We have examples that we can show you of other capability statements. If it's.
Oh yeah, I can share some of those at the
Okay.
end of the thing if that would work. Okay. Don't overwhelm with too many colors and fonts. That's where you're going to stick to your colors from your logo, any company colors you have. Maintain the same font or font family, so to speak. Do not have different fonts for your title, your office information, your capabilities or competencies, your past performance. It can feel kind of fun to change that stuff up, but when you have a sheet with that many different fonts on it, it makes it very confusing no matter how much or how little information is on the page. So you're going to want to watch that too. If you use the recommended section headers that I've listed, that'll make it easy for people to find the information that they're looking for just like that. And something else to think about is if you have the capability, if you have pictures of your process or your product or anything like that, and you can add those in, that also makes for a very nice change to a capability statement and draws the eye. These are some helpful hints along the way. Whenever you have a project, whether it's government or civilian, consider writing just a brief paragraph success story about the project, and that way you have it for your past performances if you want to apply for another job like that. And that way you just have a running list of things that you can cut and paste instead of having to think back when you're working on a new solicitation. Organize them by project type. That makes them even easier to find. And then that third one, do some research on the agency or the contractor that you're reaching out to before, because then you can ask researched, relevant questions about the solicitation or about the work that you want to do with them. Cold calls can make a person very nervous, and doing this research is a great way to calm yourself because you know what you need to know to get your point across. And that last part, nobody likes it when their time is wasted. They don't want theirs wasted. You don't want yours wasted. So that research really helps you nail down what you're going to be talking about so that you can make the most of your time that you get with someone.
We have a question in the Q&A.
Uh-huh.
Says for the Ohio version of the capability statement, should my company's Ohio entity number and or supplier code be included on the capability statement or just the unique identity ID and cage code?
No, for Ohio's capability statements, I would absolutely put in your Ohio vendor number or your Ohio buys registration number and any of your Ohio state certifications. Let's see here. Statement of work. Here's a couple of recent examples of information requested. Contractor's capability statement must include a description of how the company proposed capabilities meet or exceed current industry standards. So think about having something like that that will fit how your company works with different circumstances. This is another reason why you might have different versions of different capability statements saved, because you could include that description of work on those different versions, and then you don't have to worry about it. This brings up a white paper. It says it should be written in respondent font format, double-spaced, and medium font size of 10 point. Paper should not exceed 12 pages, including cover. Sometimes, and this is more in the innovation realm, you might be asked to supply a white paper, which is just a educational administrative document that really goes into the details about what you're producing, whether product or service. And a lot of RFIs have these kind of instructions in them. So it's not just for the white paper, it's for they will tell you exactly how they want your entire response to their solicitation spelled out. They will tell you the font size. They will tell you the actual font. This one says respondent format and minimum font size, but a lot of them will require you to do Times New Roman. And the main reason for that, it ensures that everybody's working with literally the same amount of space on a page, so that somebody using, in this example, somebody using 10 point Arial could probably get more words in than somebody using 10 point Times New Roman. And so to avoid those kind of, it seems minuscule, but it's still an advantage, to avoid those kind of advantages and keeping everything even. That's why they get so nitpicky about the descriptions. And then how we can help. So Apex Accelerators work with businesses in the pursuit of prime government contracts or subcontracts via free one-on-one client appointments and group training events like this one. If you have any questions for me, there is my contact information, and I would be happy to help you. And I am also now happy to open it up for any further capability statement questions, if we have them.
Do you have any accessible ones that you can do a screen share and show a couple of them?
Absolutely. Let me pull up a couple real quick. Sorry, I should have had the file open already.
It's okay. We have a SAM question.
Oh, sure.
So if our SAM.gov registration cage code and registration was last updated over a decade ago, how should we go about getting back into bidding federal solicitations? May need to submit notarized admin form for SAM. Guidance email would help.
Billy?
Yeah, you're on the right path. So, when it's been that long, you usually aren't going to show up directly in the SAM.gov search. Submitting that notarized form, if you still have access to your cage code, then you would not have a UEI yet, but a cage code should do. Then you should be able to get that form through Federal Service Desk, fsd.gov. Given that it's been 10 years, I would suggest reaching out to us for a one-on-one to walk you through the process in order to get started. That
Joe,
usually gets you back into the system.
Joe, why don't you type in the chat where you're located? Like if you're not an active Apex Accelerator client, it may be a good idea for you to become one to get help with this. I just put the federalservicedesk.gov reference into the chat. But depending on where you're geographically located is where you're going to have your Apex Accelerator counselor. So, okay, Hernando would like to know, who is Danielle or Billy's peer if your group is based in Columbus?
There's a couple. So you have
Mhm.
Vicky Hawthorne and Karen Weigel. The easiest way to get tracked to the right person is if you go to apex.ohio.edu and you fill out the Become a New Client in the top right-hand corner, and then that'll automatically route you to the correct person. And if you don't get to the correct person, the other person will get you to the correct person. But we're all one big team here. So really, it depends on different circumstances. Geographically is the primary circumstance.
All right, and I put a link to the Ohio Apex Accelerator at Ohio University's website, that apex.ohio.edu.
Oh, thanks, Jill.
Yep.
So this one is an example of a consulting capability statement. You can see some of their graphics here on the side. You can see that they are a woman-owned small business and they have a GSA schedule contract number, excuse me. They've got it broken up to where all of their contact information and their NAICS codes are over here on the right-hand side. Brief synopsis of the company. What makes us unique? So they're kind of playing around with the title functions, but you can see what they do. Here is one of the things right there that I would warn against, because I would want to know why it's Premier. Again, client focused. We want to know details. How are you success oriented? They made it a 2-pager. So they do have capabilities listed here, and then here are their past performances. So I would tell you that this was supposed to be kind of their differentiator section because it's what makes them unique. And they used a lot of industry speak here. And while it looks great, it doesn't really feel like it gets across what they do or what really makes them stand out. This example, excuse me again, this is a construction capability statement. So you can see here they are a little bit more specific in their differentiators. Those are great. They've got their company data blocked off right there. Their color scheme matches their logo up there in the upper right-hand corner. So they stuck with a theme. They've got bold versus not bolded. I like the bold in the orange because this background makes it kind of difficult to read, but I think they should have stuck with regular print down here as well. But that's just my personal opinion. But this is an example of a construction one, and they stuck this to 1 page. So they've got everything that they want listed right there. And then finally, here is a janitorial services capability statement. So we have all of the awards right here in the lower right-hand corner on their company data bar. They're sticking with at least one of the colors from their logo, company ID. They've got their contact information along the bottom as well as along the top so that you can find it wherever you want. And they have got some really good differentiators here. They obviously brought this up or developed this during the COVID epidemic. And they have some other things here about their employee satisfaction to try and play to that side of business items. Past performance, they give the name of the place, the time, and how long the project lasted. So those are some very quick examples that we have. I'd be happy to take any questions about those as well.
Well, we have Joe asking about, he's wanting to get a GSA or he's interested in GSA contracts. they're a manufacturing facility, just not had anyone on staff to pursue government sales.
Okay.
We've been in business since 1992, only recently jumped on board for growth. So,
Okay.
um,
It's a great idea. I would definitely suggest that you go to our website and that will direct you to who your proper counselor would be. Because government contracting is such a broad and vast ecosystem, we have different members of our team who are subject matter experts in different areas. We do have someone that is very familiar with the GSA, and we can get you in contact with that person after we've done an introductory meeting with you and everything and talked about the basics of contracting, and then we can move on to the GSA and get you with that SME.
And we'll want to make sure that there's a return there. The question
That it's
becomes if
right for you.
yeah, if you haven't done this in so long, how do you know your customer is using that schedule? Because it's a lot of lift for a small business. You're putting in countless hours, a lot of time, effort, energy across the company, everybody from accounting to sales to production. So it's not a small undertaking. You want to do some legwork up front to make sure that that is a vehicle. If just one person is telling you that you need to get it, yeah, some of our clients, and this may not be your circumstance, but somebody's telling them they need to get it because they're trying to sell them the service to get the schedule. So we really want to unpack that with you and give you some tools. But that'll be actually part of this presentation I'll be giving in a few, is going to be who's buying what you're selling and how are they buying it. You can do some of that upfront diligence before sinking that resource into pursuing it.
I don't see any other questions coming through right now for capability statements. Say
Okay. Well,
thank you
if
so much,
anyone,
Danielle. Yeah, yep.
yeah, if anyone thinks of anything, throw it in the chat, and I'm still going to be here, so I'll hop on and answer if you have something else.
Yeah, yep. And we will segue on over into Billy. Thank you, Danielle. And I just
Thank
wanted to
you.
add to the comment about the GSA. I'm not sure, manufacturing and GSA go together as well because of manufacturing being very unique. Sometimes it's not usually commercially off the shelf. So like just meeting with an Apex accelerator can help you, like Billy was saying, unpack all of that. So without further
Mhm.
ado, I will introduce Billy Grill. He is the Ohio Apex Accelerator at Ohio University. You were a director in Dayton. I should have written that down, but we've worked together for years. So very glad to work with both of you today. So I will turn it over to you, Billy.
Awesome. Thanks, Jill. Yeah, I'm your local friendly neighborhood Apex Accelerator, Associate Director of Southwest Ohio, Apex Accelerator at Ohio University. It's a huge mouthful. But overall, basically, I team with Danielle a lot, and we have Matt Brzee here in the Dayton area. So we are your Southwest Ohio team. What we do every day is basically, I like to say, we help solve client problems, or we help them solve their problems. We are your trusted guide and advisor. Today, I'm going to be complimenting Danielle on her great presentation about capability statements. I'm going to show you how to use that information, because really what you're doing in that capability statement is building a client profile. You're telling people what you do, who you do it for, and why you're different. So using that information, we can start looking through some of this ocean of data that we call government data. Great thing about government data is it's publicly available. Bad thing is all of it is publicly available. So there's a lot of noise out there to cut through. And so hopefully after today's presentation, you understand a bit more about the process and how to use your information to get to actionable information in this pool of data. We want to go ahead and do a share here. And bear with me, guys. It was actually great timing that Danielle was going first, because my power just went out because of the winds here in Dayton. So I think I'm all spun back up. We adapt and conquer here. So we should be good to go. And there will be some skipping back and forth between screens because I do plan to do a live demo and show you guys exactly how this process works step by step. But without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and we're going to run you through some PowerPoint. I'm not a big fan of PowerPoint, but I know it's necessary. So we'll just basically set the table here for a live demo. I always like sharing this slide because this is really the the breadth of our services. You can see we're right down here in the market research and bid match portion. Danielle was helping us through that capability statement development. But overall, we help you from registrations all the way down through post-award considerations and everything in between. This is becoming a bigger and bigger piece, standards, certifications, and compliance because of your cyber compliance and some of the other standards that are becoming very front of acquisition. So we're going to start with the basics, guys. I like laying foundations. What is an actual opportunity? How do you qualify one? You need three things for an opportunity. You need a requirement. Everybody's got a requirement. Everybody needs something. But you also need funding. If you have funding without a requirement, you have a lot of best friends because they want to help you spend that money. But you also need a contract. That's the differentiator in the government space. You need some sort of vehicle, some sort of contract that they can execute that requirement and funding on. Well, by doing market research, we can help you determine what is the most likely source for requirements, funding, and contract. If you have all three of those, then you have the opportunity. That being said, I always say to my clients, you need 100 things to go right, but only one thing to go wrong. So we want to make sure that we're setting ourselves up for success by diversifying our targets and our potential customers. Here is my basic quad chart of where you can grow. You have what you currently do, current client, current capability. That's very low risk, potentially low reward as well. Then you have your current clients and new capability. All that is left of center, basically working with the people that you already do. Now, the risk there is if you only pay attention to those two quadrants, you're going to have all your eggs in one basket. And if that client goes away, you go away. On the right-hand side, you have new clients and current capability. That's where we're doing our market research. We're getting our sales executives spun up and want to go out, make new friends, develop new relationships. And then you also have your new client, new capability. That's more of your strategy. So you're going to grow here 5, 10 years out. That's really where like AI, machine learning was 10, 15 years ago. Over here on this side of the quadrant, your risk is there's a high customer acquisition cost. So, if you only pay attention here, you're spending a lot more money and you're potentially losing business with your current clients. The value of the slide is to tell you, you want to put some of your eggs in each of these baskets. Just focusing on one quadrant is always very risky. So you want to be aware and you want to have processes for each one of these if you're spinning up a mature business development organization. So my marketing approach is really threefold. I tell our clients when they come on board, I'm giving you 3 new full-time jobs. So congrats. Basically, we want you to know how to bid to win, and that is knowing what opportunities are coming out. We have a really great value-added service called Bid Match, where if you're a client of ours and you're active, we set you up in our system. We send you an email every day based on search criteria that we set up with you. And it searches 2,500 different federal, state, local databases. And then you start receiving bids that are potentially a fit for you. Today, we're talking about what I call organic marketing. So we're going to go in, find out who's buying what we're selling. We're going to try to develop relationships and develop a rapport with those entities. I like to tell my clients, we are guided by federal acquisition regulation and the DFAR, but make no bones, we are a relationship-based business. People inherently want to work with others that they know, like, and trust. And then networking, different industry associations, industry days. As a small business, teaming is a force multiplier. It will exponentially increase your reach and your capability. I highly, 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 highly recommend teaming as a small business. because it just offers so many benefits. And that's also covered somewhat today in our market research is how to find out who your potential competitors, who your potential friends, who your competitive mates or frenemies are, because one day you'll be teaming and the next you'll be competing. So client profiles, when we're looking at that industry or that capability statement, you're telling your potential target what your past performance is. So it's recent and relevant in size, scope, and complexity. You can target prospects using industry verticals. So say that you do IT. That's great. IT is a very broad word, but tell me that you do cybersecurity for medical type companies. Well, now we can get you a lot more dialed in, and we can actually start getting through that sea of data into actionable information. And then also know your goaling. There's something called small business goaling reports. I haven't used them as much lately, but they still exist to the best of my knowledge. You really want to know, how, so for example, if I'm a small business, service disabled, veteran owned small business, I'd like to know where those opportunities are coming out, and we can actually help you get to those specific opportunities. So, market research tools. Everything that I'm showing you today is free and publicly available. I don't like using paid for tools because I know our clients may not always have that ability to pay for a monthly subscription to GovWin or to GovTribe or to Easy GovOps or to FedMine, et cetera, et cetera. I can tell you that every single one of those tools that you're paying for, they have an API. They are getting their data from the same places we are looking at today. That's going to be SAM.gov and USAspending.gov. So I'm going to show you how to use the authoritative data sources to get to the data that you want. So here's a big foundation that we want to lay. As Danielle was speaking about in capability statements, still applies here. The government literally speaks in code. You guys should know your primary and secondary NAICS codes. I go a step deeper into product service codes. Product service codes are basically a more granular version. NAICS codes are used by every contracting officer that has a contract on SAM.gov. Product service codes get a step deeper. The other piece to this puzzle is when we're doing our research and you're doing your diligence and your legwork, you're going to start learning how to speak government language. They literally speak a different language than the regular population. I speak fluent Air Force because I've been right outside the fence at Wright Pat for 20 years. But if you took me down to Redstone Arsenal, I don't speak as much Army. I'd have to learn it. So that's something that we help you guys run through mission briefs. We help you go to small business offices. We want you to know how your client refers to things because that can actually help you in searches, but also that can help you effectively communicate with your government client or target. I have a New Year's resolution this year. I am determined to spell out every acronym as I speak it. It's been a long and tough struggle. So if anybody catches me here today using an acronym, please ping me in the chat, yell at me. I do need it. I deserve it. I've been speaking an acronym for 20 years. So we're really trying to demystify this to everybody and let them know that, just because DPCAP, is big scary acronym, it's got a pretty basic meaning. We think we're being efficient, but really in the long run, it's pretty inefficient if nobody knows what the heck you're talking about. So I'm going to do some basic demos for you guys. I'm going to show you how to run a basic USA Spending search. I'm going to show you how to download that, get it into a CSV, and then really look at the data. And then I'm going to show you how to research a single opportunity on SAM.gov. With that, I also want you guys to take this information. Remember that you need to do your research after this. This is not getting a list and doing immediate outreach. This is getting a targeted list so that you can do further research and find out the qualitative piece. Today, I'm showing you very quantitative data, contract award amounts, contract offices, obligated amount, outlaid amount. What we want to get that to is, okay, this is now the customer I want to do a lot of deep dive research into. The great thing is, again, all of that data is public. And then when we're talking about doing outreach, that's going to be the next step of your process when you actually start doing and reaching out to these people
Hey,
with
Billy,
your
is there,
capability statement. Yes.
sorry, is
Oh,
there a
go ahead.
URL for the PNS manual? Do you mean
PNS
product?
or
uh,
PSC?
PSC is what I'm thinking he's referring to. So like
Yes.
what link do you guys usually use for that?
It's actually posted on acquisition.gov. So if you actually just type in Google PSC manual acquisition.gov, it'll pop right up.
Oh,
They actually
yep.
just updated it in April 2025.
Thank you,
Um,
Joey. Yeah, Joey just put it in there.
oh, thanks, Joey. The thing that the um, tie back with that update is they actually updated the PSC manual to include the GSA schedule category managers. So for that prior question about GSA schedule, may want to take a look at the manual, see where your codes are fitting, see if there's a GSA category manager to those codes. That could be the initial piece of your research. Now, I like to tell my client, this is a lot of upfront work. Remember, government sales cycles, they're long. It's a large risk and reward game. Your risk is all this upfront work you're putting in. The reward is a potential, 1 to 5 to 10-year contract where the government being the best client they are, they pay on time, they always have more work. In my opinion, and I'm biased because I've been doing this my whole adult career, it's a very fulfilling industry and I very much dig what I do. Here is my information, guys. So if you ever need it, feel free to reach out. That's my email. That's my phone number. Just a note about office phones, and it rings true with Danielle as well. In Southwest Ohio, we service hundreds of clients at a time. So during our typical workday, we're usually pretty booked in meetings. Email is the much preferred source of communication. That being said, if you do call, we'll try to get back to you as soon as possible. Um, technically, I'm off this week. So, you may see an auto reply that I'll get to you next week. I'm always around somewhere. If it's an emergency, call the office phone. Make sure you leave a detailed message. If you just say, hey, it's Bob, there's about 20 Bobs in the database right now. So just try to be detailed and we will get back to you. We are doing our best.
And just to foot stomp that, also, we may know some of you all really, really well, but also please don't just call and say, hey, it's me.
Yes. Hey, it's me is there's 500 me's in the database. So that does a bit of disservice there. Okay, with that being said, I'm going to get to the live demo, guys. Like I promised, we're going to run through this together. Live demos are always risky. I like taking risk if you haven't known yet. I'm also very informal. So don't think that you have to wait till after the demo to start peppering questions. I want this to be a conversation, a discussion. It's not me talking at you, it's us talking together, and we can run through some problems. So with that, I'm going to go ahead, do another screen share. Okay, this website is my favorite website in the world. It's because I'm a recovering data analyst. I'm trying to get out of this, but I tend to use this thing every day. A lot of our counselors do. This is usaspending.gov. usaspending.gov. Started in 2008 by Government Transparency Act to see how our taxpayer dollars were being spent. What it's great at is finding past contract information. We're looking to the past. Why? Why do we look to the past? Well, because once the government buys something once, they usually buy it again and again. That's just the nature of the beast here. The cool thing about usaspending.gov is there's so much data here. You can hear that data analyst speak. I'm starting to get excited about all the different options here. Data is great to ask questions to. So if you want to look at award data, we can explore the data. If you want to do competitive intel, how about we look at the recipients of these contracts and start looking at our closest competitor? You just go in here and type their name and see if they pop up, and then you can get a whole one-page profile on them. And then you can do agency research. So if you know there's an agency that you want to be speaking to, they have, last count was 107 different agencies in here. Maybe less, maybe more at this point. They also have a lot of states and territories. If you want to know how your state is spending your dollar, then this is an awesome place to go. I like it because it's very graphical. Another just kind of pro tip here, if you have a program management review or business development review coming up, managers love pretty pictures. You can hop in here and grab all kinds of pretty pictures for them to throw in that slide deck, knock it out of the park. They'll, standing ovation after you're done. Really useful tool. What I do here with this information, if you think about the left-hand side, you'll see location. You can search by agency, award type, description, amount. Basically, what you're doing here is you're building out your client profile. So, for example, I'm going to pick out the last 5 years of data. We're not through 2026 yet, so we'll go 5 years of data because I want this data to be recent and relevant. Remember that conversation around recent and relevant past performance. We want this data to be recent and relevant as well. You can also, if you're really petty, and all is fair in love and business, you can actually search by recipient. So if you have that one competitor, you don't like them, you can search by that competitor, and then you can actually see every contract that they have with every client, down to the contract level. But remember, they can also see yours. So going back to that, all's fair in love and business thing. If you're somebody that needs to be on location, so if you're an electrician or if you're pouring cement, you can search by location. You can search by the award amount. This is very good for small businesses because say that I've only done contracts for $100,000 a pop. Well, I don't want to pull up $100 million contracts because there's no way my past performance would get me there. So you want to keep it recent and relevant, and this really helps you narrow down the results. I tell my clients that you want the Goldilocks mix. I don't want 80,000 contracts in my return. Not what I'm after. That's way too many. I'll never get through the noise. I also don't want 2 contracts because that's just not enough to get a trend line to get good data with. So I called it my Goldilocks mix because it's just right. Couple hundred, maybe 1,000 or 2 contracts. And I know that seems like a lot, but I'm going to show you how to quickly get through that noise. So I'm just going to go in here, and I am an IT company. Why not? Pretty broad. And that is other computer related services. Well, I'm going to do a search. Holy moly, yeah, 180,000 contracts. I don't need that much noise in my life. So the next step I'm going to take is I'm going to put in a product service code. So my product service code is going to be DA01 because I do application development. I'm an app guy. I like building apps for iPhone, Droids. That's my cup of tea. So I'm still looking at about 5,000 contracts, but realize, we just took it down from 180,000 contracts down to 5,000 contracts. So we're getting there. And on a regular day, this would be good. But I know that we're talking to a lot of small businesses. So I want my small business app development contracts. So I come down here and I want to do a small business set aside, maybe a very small business set aside. Let's see what that gives us. 978 results. I'm not hateful at that. I'm just going to take it down to regular small business. So same 978. That looks good to me. Okay, so now we have all of this data, right? Well, we're going to turn into actionable information now. We have our foundation. We can look at, hey, who are our top awarding sub-agencies? Well, now we know DISA, Army, Border Protection, Medicare, IRS, Developmental Office, etc. This is great, but this still doesn't get us there. I mean, the Army is a pretty big beast. We're not just going to knock on the Army's door. So what we really want to do is download this data. But before we do, we can also look at the recipients. So you can look at the top 10 companies that are doing this. And this is really helpful because, if you've never worked with the federal government before, well, maybe you want to start out by subcontracting. Maybe you want to start a relationship with some of these prime contractors or potentially a teaming relationship with these guys. That may be a good kind of toehold in. But they also have your product service codes, your NAICS codes. These are more helpful if you're doing a more general search. Or if you're doing a recipient search and you're searching your competitor, there's nothing wrong with looking at all of their codes and seeing what kind of codes they're using. That could be a quick way to just kind of double check and fact check your own codes. If you're doing something that sells very cyclically, I can tell you that office furniture construction, a lot of them get kicked out in your September timeline. Why September, you ask? Because September is the end of the fiscal year. They have to spend their budgets by the end of September. And so when they have some of that stuff laying on the table, it's a very easy and a quick buy. Commercial items are very big in September. And here's where we get down to, all of these, again, guys, really pretty pictures for your presentations. You can also get down into where is this stuff being bought. So if you are on location and you are doing dam repair, well, you kind of want to know which dams are being repaired. You can also do this, and some of our clients they're very politically oriented. You can get this down to congressional district and see whose congressman you need to be calling. With that being said, this is very helpful data here. But it's not information yet. I want information. I want something I can sink my teeth into and act on. So what I did is I hit that download button and I pulled all of this into a spreadsheet. Well, you're telling me this isn't information, is it? No. This is even worse than the data we were looking at on the spreadsheet. But what we're going to do pretty quick here, we're just going to cut through the noise. So I'm just going to create my own little pivot table here. And basically what I want to get to the total obligated amount, who's buying, where's that money? And then I can come down here and I want to look at the awarding office. Now, remember all the way back to slide, I think it was like 3, what constitutes an opportunity? Well, we're looking at it right here. An opportunity is the awarding office. That's where the requirement is coming from. And then you need funding. So there's also a funding office. And so now we know where the awards and where the funding are coming from. So right here, really quickly, within 5 minutes, I can tell you that if we're doing IT services app development, we are looking at the Defense Contract Management Office, DISA, DISA Central, DISA Computing, a lot of DISA. We are also looking at, and I can just tell you here, this is the Army, Army Acquisition. And then we're looking at Office of Acquisition. That looks like it may be VA. I'm not sure. And here's kind of the tip and trick here. Let me simplify this a bit. I'm just going to take out the funding offices so we can get back just to the awarding. You don't speak acronym soup. You can see I've been doing this for 20 years and I don't speak all of this acronym soup. But what I can do, let me just take this in here, copy it, and then go back to my website. I can do some pretty quick Google searching and it will tell me, it looks like this thing's called Kessel Run. So DevSecOps. Or I could do this. You see this little guy right here. This is what they call an awarding office code. I just want to do this and then very quickly type in small business office. They are going to be your biggest help, but they also have great information on their page. And without fail, my small business office, AFL-CMC, pops up. Here's their small business page. Always, 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 always research the small business office before you think about reaching out. So here's the process. You take the data, make that data information. We get our targeted top 5, top 10. Then we do even more legwork. We go to that small business office page. Well, here's some information. Here's some email. Do I email them yet? Absolutely not. No, because what we're going to want to look at, we're going to want to see, oh, they have an org chart here. I want to know how their organization works. They have a how to do business here. I want to know how they like you to do business. Whenever you see a how to do business with, what they are giving you is their protocol. Each small business office has a different way that they want you to work with them, as far as email this specific email address, fill out this contact form, go to Joe, Joe sends you to Bob, and Bob will email Hillary, and that's how you get to Hillary. So really make sure that you digest this information, because I can tell you the quickest way to not get help is to not follow their instruction. So that's, just a quick hit process there. But back to the data, there's a lot of things you can do with this data. Right now we have the awarding offices. Well, maybe I want to subcontract. So instead of going direct, who are the companies in these places? So now not only do you have not just the top 10 company, but I have a list of company for every awarding office. And that can really help me, because if I'm targeting these offices, I want to target the companies as well. At the very, very least, I want to know these companies exist, and I want to know what they do. The other cool thing you can do with this is, if you want more research on the company, each company has that unique entity ID. I'll just use Excel Gov for an example. So I like Excel Gov. I want to target and talk to Excel Gov. Well, before you talk to Excel Gov, you want to do your research on Excel Gov. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go here and go right back to my data, and I want to see where is the recipient tab. I'm just going to pop in their UEI here, click that thing, submit it. Well, now I have all of Excel Gov's contracts. I know exactly who they're doing work for. I'm going to go ahead and go down to the sub-agency. I know they're working mostly with the FBI and the Navy. I can tell when their money's coming. It looks like their big payday, 167 million in September, fallout funding of 2023. I can tell where they're working at the most. If I want a really good one-pager on Excel.gov, this is a clickable link. So again, you can go down, a lot of rabbit holes here. That's why you always come in with a strategy and what you want to do. We can see that they're a very young company, and it looks like their biggest payday was back in September 2023. Since then, they've kind of evened out a bit. But hey, if they're one of my competitors, these are the NAICS codes that they're winning under. These are the product service codes. Maybe I want to add that to my arsenal. There's a lot of data here. Basically what we do is we help you take this, we help give you the process and the tools in order to really get down to that actionable information. The other piece of this puzzle, there's a reason why I put these codes on. These are what you call DODAX. It is basically the awarding office code. And what we want to do with these awarding office codes, well, there's a really neat trick in SAM.gov. If you guys aren't on SAM.gov, you should be. It is the front door to the government.
Hey, Billy,
Yes.
I don't know if you said already, did you say what DODAC stands for?
So, yes, thank you for calling me out on that, DP. DODAC means the Department of Defense Accounting Activity Code. Nailed it. So basically what it is, it's your awarding office code. Every awarding office has one in the federal government. What I tend to do, so we'll just do we'll do a comparison. When I'm searching SAM.gov for contract opportunities, you can search two ways. You can search by capability or by client. So when I'm searching my NAICS code, remember that 541519 NAICS code, I'm getting 1,359 results. That's good. Since I want to get that down, DA01 takes it down from 1,300 to 18. So that's going to be, there's my capability search. I want to search either by NAICS code, product service code, or a combination of both, or maybe even keyword if you guys are niche enough. The other way to search, because remember, there's a person on the other side of that contract. Contracting officers very rarely are the technical experts. They don't do app development, so they don't know if app development should go under this or this. They have no idea. So they often stick it under just a complementary NAICS code or cage or product service code. So a really foolproof way to set up your SAM searches is, yes, search by your capability codes. But you can also say, okay, these guys are buying the most of this stuff. So maybe I just want everything that they're putting out. And if you do that, you start putting out these different, what I'll just call them client codes for this episode or exercise. So we start searching by client codes. Now remember, when you do that, you click on the any words function. So you can see we already have 49 results, but look at the office. We're getting directly down to the offices that are buying what we're selling. And guys, I know I speak fast. I call this my fire hose meeting with my clients. I speak fast because there's so much information to cover. Just remember, the best thing to take away from this presentation today, you have a local friendly neighborhood Apex accelerator that can help you through this process. And then, you know, when we're looking through some of this, it really helps you just make sure that nothing's falling through the cracks, the code crack, if you will, when we're just looking by capability code. Okay, I covered a lot of information. I'm going to do one more little exercise, but just want to check the chat, Jill. Anything anybody needs to know at this point in time? I know that people's eyes are probably bleeding at this point.
I just answered. Joe was expressing that he'd love to come to Dayton and go through this in person or review the video. And I told him the recording, that it would be available in about a week. And then if he wanted to get on your calendar to register to become a client, and gave the website. So
yeah,
I don't know
certainly.
if you want, okay.
We do this, Jill, every one of us can do this. So if it's not me, you know, Joe can always pull, or the primary counselor can always pull me into the meeting with Joe. So yeah, we have that process here, but I'm always willing to, again, I'm a recovering data analyst. I can do this stuff all day. And we actually do, so this is the pre-matchmaker webinar. Later on in the spring, summer, I usually do a semi-yearly event called Teach Your Team How to Fish. We usually bring in some different partners for that. But SBA is actually usually there as well. We're just figuring out how that's going to look this year because of some changes within our different partners. But overall, you know, this is your process. The good thing about these tools, guys, they're all free. They're all publicly available. You see, I haven't used one login to look at any of this data. This is something you guys can get comfortable with every day and putting that legwork. I like to tell my folks that you're not going to break it. These are government systems. They're already half broken. I've tried. I'm on these every day. There is some lag in some of the systems at certain points of the day, just because they're so valuable that there's so many people on them. But yes, Joe, we're always here to assist any way we can. So my last little demo here. Say you do find an opportunity. So I did my search on SAM.gov. This search was actually based on 541, 519 NAICS code and DA01 product service code. And this is actually a real client problem that they had. They emailed me and they said, hey, we've been doing what you told us to do. We found this opportunity. Well, the problem with this opportunity is, it's with a very specific client. It's with the Air Force Research Laboratory. And you see this acronym soup here. It's with these guys, this awarding office. But it's an 8A sole source. We need to know, is there an incumbent in there, who the incumbent is, and do we have a shot at teaming or networking or competing? Which, if it's sole source, you're not competing. So they really needed to do some intel here. So here's kind of the little tip and trick I'll give you here. You see this notice ID. Notice ID is often the solicitation ID. The first 6 digits, and this holds true with your contracts. If you guys have federal government contracts, the first 6 digits of every contract is going to be that DODAC. So what you can do with those federal government contracts, if I have my, again, recent relevant past performance in the last 5 years, if I have 6 federal government contracts, I'm probably taking those first 6 digits and I'm setting up a client search in SAM.gov so that I know what my current clients are putting out and because I have built-in past performance. Why would I not do that? I know what they're putting out. I want to know what's coming out in SAM so that I can potentially bid. But for the purposes of this exercise, so this is the opportunity. So I'm going to take that first 6 digits, that DODAC, and let me just reset my search here to get all the search criteria out. I'm just going to pop that DODAC in here, searching by keyword. Now note that the keyword will search the solicitation ID, it will search the program description, it will search the recipient. So that's what you're getting through your keyword search there. Okay, so I have that piece of information in. Well, we know that 541, 519 and DA01 is going to be our coding. So we want the 541, 519. And that is your other computer related services. And then we want our DA01. That is going to be our app development. And so we'll submit this. Interesting. Let me take out and when you do get no result, just back off a little bit of criteria. Okay, so now that we've researched, we backed off the product service code. It was too specific. Again, back to that Goldilocks mix. So now we're back up top, 115 contracts. We want to know our recipients. And now there we go. We have a top 10 of who's going to be, who's submitting for this. So for any opportunity, if you want some really quick market research on who's in there with the customer, who's got the capability, super simple 5-minute search. I now have a top 10 of, hey, do these guys want a team? Or at the very least, I know the probability of them bidding this is going to be very high. So I want to keep these guys in mind. And from here, you start doing your diligence and going down those rabbit holes. So that was kind of the last bit of exercise I wanted to show you guys. I could run through this all day. There's so many questions you can ask the data. Here is my challenge to you. I want you guys to take the proactive approach, hop in these systems, start playing around with your codes and seeing what you see. The best the best data makes you want to ask it more questions. That's kind of my parting thought there. If you're doing it right, you're going to get excited and want to ask it a lot more questions. With that, Jill, I'll open it up for questions. People calling uncle, raising white flags, wanting to run away, all completely natural.
Well, I was monitoring the chat, and Danielle mentioned that there are prior recordings. There's a whole library of trainings on the Ohio University Apex Accelerator site. So there's a lot of different topics on there. We've covered some of these things before. So if you were really excited and wanted to get the recording on this type of topic, there is one already from a prior training. I don't see any additional question. Oh, there we go. Well, it's a kudo. Thank you, Billy. Thanks to you. Thank you. Do you have any thoughts on the use of the acquisition gateway for forecasted opportunities?
Yeah, no, look, I love data as much as the next guy. I think that there's a space there. Here's my note about forecasted opportunities. Yes, I think it's good to look at those forecasts. The Air Force, a majority of those are going to be your expiring contracts. So knowing when expiring contracts are coming up, yes, I think that's valuable. I usually go through this data first. You can actually get, there's a time period section on usaspending.gov. So you can quickly get to all of the agencies expiring contracts in a certain NAICS code instead of going agency by agency. If you are very targeted on an agency, I think their forecasts are great, but they are just that, they're forecasts. So you want to be cognizant of that. Overall, yeah, I think the great thing you can do with this data is this data helps you prioritize relationship building. So what industry associations am I getting involved in? What small business offices? A quick pro tip is a lot of industry days are posted to sam.gov's special notice type. So when you're learning how to search sam.gov, make sure you search their special notices and just type in industry day. So really this data is meant to get you to a point where you can connect and start asking questions, intelligent questions, and building that rapport with the client. This is merely the beginning step. This data is not the end all be all. It is really just a foundation that we're building on our way to customer discovery.
Another question. Do you have any tips on how to get added to a government contracting agency's bid list for a specific contract? I've called and emailed one in particular. I'm not hearing back.
Depends. Yeah, I hate the answer to, but
Yeah.
again, we go back to that protocol example. Every agency has a different protocol. Now, if you're looking at something huge like the Air Force, they have things called IDIQs, indefinite delivery, indefinite quantity contracts. If you're in the construction space, they have something called MAX. There's all kinds of different vehicles. That goes back to working through that diligence and going through those different mission briefs, contacting the small business office. By the way, when you contact a small business office, it is not contacting them and saying, "Hey, do you guys buy what I sell?" That's why you're doing this research. You're letting them know, "Hey, we've worked with our Apex Accelerator. We know you buy $139 million of this product or service in the last 5 years. We would like to ask you questions." If you go in asking for business, you'll get advice. If you go in asking for advice, you'll get business. And a very brilliant man, Lieutenant Colonel Slater, told that to me. I've stolen it so many times. Had to give him some kudos and credit there. But really what we're doing is we're doing just starting customer discovery. That's when you'll find out how you get on that bid list. That's how you'll find out what their protocol is. Do you have to talk to a prime? Do they have rolling on-ramps? All of this is data that we need to gather from interaction or from further investigation.
I just put in the chat the Life Cycle Industry Day for in Dayton. It's July 27th through the 29th. They just sent that to us at the SBA, so I think it was recently published. So, in addition to attending the Matchmaker to meet government points of contact, the Industry Day for the Air Force AFL-CMC is a great way for you to meet government contracting professionals, small business professionals, find out what's up and coming within Wright-Patt, but the Air Force overall. So if you can attend it, or if you're in the Dayton area, it would be a great use of your time if you're trying to get in with the Air Force.
Oh, definitely. And we'll be there. I'll have a resource
Mm-hmm.
table. So we'll be hanging out with all of our 300 closest friends and clients and having a good week there. So yes,
It's a
definitely.
big deal.
Oh, it's huge. It's
Mm-hmm.
in my estimation, it's the best value if you're local because you're getting the Air Force, AFMC, LCMC, which LCMC is all the fighters, bombers, drones, cats and dogs too. But you get all the prime contractors there as well. So Boeing, Northrop, Lockheed, General Atomics, GA Aerospace, Raytheon, RTX, it goes on and on.
All right. I don't see any further questions right now. As I mentioned before, the recording will be available in about a week. I want to thank our presenters for today. Thank you so much. I love the engagement in the chat. There were a lot of good questions. And I appreciate the attendees for participating today. What we have found over the years is the more you're able to prepare for events like the Matchmaker or for industry days, the more you're able to get out of it during the day. We have an awful lot of people that have come up on the day of and don't know what a capability statement is and don't really know if the government actually buys what they sell. It's a different world. So you just got to give yourself some time to acclimate yourself with it, I think. And that's what we're here for. So if you have a lot of energy today and you want to, we're just getting started with the learning, we have a second webinar this afternoon at 1 o'clock. It is doing business with the Ohio Department of Rehabilitation and Correction and the Ohio Department of Transportation. So both of those agencies will be at the Matchmaker on April 23rd. So you will be able to meet them in person. But if you are thinking that maybe state government is a better place for you to start, the Department of Rehabilitation and Correction, I'm always surprised at the types of goods and services they purchase. So you would learn a lot from that training. And of course, the Ohio Department of Transportation. If you wanted to register for it, I think it's still open even now. It may have closed, but it's on the Ohio Business Matchmaker site. If you click on webinars, you'll see a list of the full webinar trainings that we'll have until the event. So with that, I'll go ahead and close. I appreciate all of you for participating today, and hopefully we'll see you on another webinar or at the Matchmaker. Thank you.
Thanks, Joe. Thanks, everybody.
All right. Bye.
Thanks, everybody.